All right, we're on to question number 2. And we learned a very important thing in class today, and it was that once we have a pair of triangles congruent, we can name any of their corresponding parts congruent by something we called CPCTC, which stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So usually if what we're trying to prove is not that a triangle is congruent to a triangle, we actually try to prove that the triangles are congruent anyway, and then we use this CPCTC at the very end of our proof. And so that's what we're going to try to do today. So again, I've already written down my statements and reasons chart, and I have put in my first 2 givens. I'm going to take a minute and mark those off as congruent, mark off what I'm going to do with those in my diagram. So given number 1 is that BA is congruent to CA. You should get used to marking these off. And then my second given is that AX is the angle bisector of angle BAC. Remembering that A is the vertex of that angle, and if A is the vertex of that angle, when I cut that angle in half, I should have 2 congruent angles there. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a conclusion from the angle bisector. And so if an angle is bisected, I'm going to name 2 congruent angles. You're going to list them. I'll show you where they are. So here's one, and here's the other one. Right at the top there. You're going to list those 2 angles as congruent, and your reason would be this definition of bisector. All right, you have to write that in. Don't tell me you don't know what to write there. I just told you. You're just going to have to actually write it. So for statement number 4, I am going to notice that I have a side and an angle congruent to a side and an angle, and I want to try to get SAS, side angle side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that reflexive property that we all know and love. And the reflexive property, we can say AX is congruent to AX. And so the next thing I need to do is I need to prove that the 2 triangles are congruent, and I can prove that those 2 triangles are congruent by side angle side. Now, which 2 triangles am I using? This one and this one, triangle BAX and triangle CAX. And my last statement is to actually say what I'm trying to prove. And again, we talked about CPCTC in class today, and so CPCTC means that once you have any pair of corresponding triangles congruent, you can say their corresponding parts are congruent. And angle ABX, this angle, corresponds to angle ACX in the 2 triangles. And so you can write that statement, and your reason is CPCTC. Fill in the blanks on your own.